Old failure, whispered my daughter's fiancé, with contempt at the engagement party I threw. This party is terrible. He didn't know I owned the company where his parents work. They found out in the worst possible way, when their careers and dreams shattered. Betrayal won't go unpunished. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is in your region right now. I stood in the corner of Bella Vista, watching my daughter Tina glow in the dim lighting. 29 years old, elementary school teacher, good heart. She clutched Lawrence's arm like he was a prize, and my chest tightened. Lawrence Brennan, 32, MBA, currently unemployed, though Tina didn't know that yet. I'd done my homework when he proposed 3 months ago. When you've built a business from nothing, you learn to trust your instincts about people. I'd chosen Bella Vista deliberately. Small Italian place on the east side of Indianapolis. Red checkered tablecloths. I'd ordered simple food, chicken parmesan, salad, garlic bread, a 3-tier cake from the bakery down the street. 50 guests, mostly Tina's teacher friends. I wanted to see how Lawrence and his family would react to ordinary. The answer came within the first hour. Is this really all the decorations? Sheila Brennan, Lawrence's mother, examined the single balloon arch. She wore a blue dress that probably cost more than the entire party. I mean, it's sweet, Francis, but engagements are supposed to be memorable. It's perfect, Mom, Tina said quickly, but her cheeks flushed. Harold Brennan, Lawrence's father, approached the buffet with the expression of a man inspecting a health code violation. Catering? Restaurant's kitchen, I said. Ah, traditional, I suppose. He let the lid drop with a clang. Lawrence circled the cake. 3 tiers. Cute. He snapped a photo and walked away without tasting it. I smiled and played the role. The retired guy on a fixed income. I'd worn my oldest sport coat, driven my 15-year-old Honda Civic, left my Rolex in the safe. 68 years old, and I've learned this. People reveal themselves when they think you're beneath them. Around 8 o'clock, I went to the restroom. Coming back, I heard voices from the alcove near the kitchen. Lawrence's voice sharp. This is embarrassing. Look at this place. Keep your voice down. Harold. Why? The old man can barely afford this dump. The napkins are paper. Sheila's laugh cold. Well, darling, you're not marrying him. Just his daughter. Thank God. Lawrence's contempt was thick. Old failure. This party is terrible. At least once we're married, I can fix things. Get us into a decent house. I stood frozen. The words hit like punches. The important thing, Sheila said, is that Tina seems sweet, and Francis must have something saved. We just need to be patient. I'm patient, but I'm not living like this. We're getting a house in Carmel, somewhere that doesn't scream, struggling retiree. They laughed, all 3. I counted to 20. My hands shook, but I kept them steady. I walked back with a smile. Tina rushed over. Dad, is everything okay? Fine, sweetheart. Just tired. The party's wonderful, thank you. She hugged me tight. Anything for you, I said. The rest of the evening blurred. I watched Lawrence charm Tina's friends, playing devoted fiancé. Watched Harold and Sheila judge every detail with their eyes. When the last guest left, Tina kissed my cheek. Dad, you're amazing. Worth every penny, I said. Lawrence shook my hand. His grip was weak. Thanks, Francis. It was nice. Nice. The word hung like smoke. They drove away in Lawrence's leased BMW. I stood alone in the parking lot. August night, warm and humid. Angelo came out with a box. Mr. Holmes, leftover cake? Keep it, Angelo. Thanks for everything. Your daughter, she's a good girl. The best. I drove home in silence. My house is in Broad Ripple, built in 1947. I bought it 30 years ago for $80,000. It's worth maybe $350 now, but I never cared about moving. Inside, I sat at the kitchen table. The clock ticked. The anger built slowly, like water coming to boil. Old failure. Terrible party. At least once we're married, I can fix things. They didn't know. None of them knew. I pulled out my laptop. 347 unread messages from work. Holmes Transport Solutions. Logistics company. 412 employees across Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. 47 million in revenue last year. I am not retired. I go to the office 4 days a week. I just don't advertise it. I opened our HR database and typed Brennan. 2 results. Harold Brennan. Operations Manager, Indianapolis Terminal, 12 years. Salary $95,000. Sheila Brennan, Senior Accountant, Corporate Office, 12 years. Salary $82,000. I sat back and laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. They worked for me. Lawrence's parents worked for me, and they had no idea. The company has layers of management. I stay out of day-to-day operations. Most employees have never seen me. The terminals have their own managers. I'm a name on letterhead, a signature on quarterly reports. Anonymous by design, invisible by choice. I thought about their voices in that alcove, their contempt, their certainty that I was nothing. Tina deserved better than Lawrence, better than his poisonous family, and I was going to show her exactly who they were. I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table until dawn, replaying every interaction with Lawrence. The anger had cooled into something harder, something focused. Around 6, I went for my morning run. 3 miles through the neighborhood. Broad Ripple was quiet, streets empty. The air smelled like cut grass and building heat. But as I ran, memories surfaced. Red flags I'd explained away because I wanted Tina happy. 6 weeks ago, Lawrence came for dinner. I'd made meatloaf and mashed potatoes. He picked at his plate like I'd served cafeteria food. "You still living in this place, Francis?" He gestured with his fork. "It's got character, but maintenance on these old houses must be tough. You probably watch every dollar." "I manage," I'd said. "Just saying. At your age, you might want to downsize. Get something manageable. Maybe a senior community." He'd leaned back. "Financial planning is my background. You've got to think about the future. Make sure you're not burning through savings." Another memory. 3 weeks ago, Harold and Sheila's barbecue at their house in Castleton. Nice 2-story colonial, professionally landscaped. Harold had turned burgers on the grill. "You know, Francis, Lawrence is smart. MBA from Butler. He's going places." Tina seems happy. She should be. Lawrence could have his pick. Good-looking, educated, ambitious. He'd fix me with a look. "I hope you know what a lucky break this is for your daughter." "How do you mean?" "Just that guys like Lawrence usually go for women with prospects. Career women, family money. Tina's sweet, but she's a teacher. Not exactly a gold mine." He'd flipped a burger. "You should appreciate that my son sees past all that." Later, Sheila cornered me in the kitchen. "Francis, can I be frank? We love Tina, but I worry she's not prepared for the lifestyle Lawrence wants. He's used to quality. Nice restaurants, travel. I hope she can adapt. She's adaptable. I'm sure. But it might be hard if there's not much financial support from your side. Young couples need help. Down payments, furniture, and if you're on a fixed income, I'll make sure Tina's taken care of." "Of course," she'd smiled. "That's all we want." I ran faster. Every conversation played differently now. They'd judged me from the start, a burden, a struggling retiree. By the time I finished, the sun was up and the rage had become clarity. I walked back and saw him, Wade Rogers, mid-20s, thin, nervous, standing outside Bella Vista, smoking. He waved awkwardly. "Hey, Mr. Holmes." "Wade." "Sorry about last night. The party seemed nice, but—" He trailed off. "But what?" "Nothing. Forget it." "Wade, what happened?" He dropped the cigarette. "I don't want to start drama. I just overheard some stuff and felt bad." "What stuff?" "Your daughter's fiancé and his parents. In the alcove around 8. I was bringing bread, and I heard them talking." My pulse quickened. "Go on." "Lawrence was showing them pictures on his phone. Houses, expensive ones. He said, 'Soon all this will be mine.' And his mom said—" Wade hesitated. "Said what?" "She said, 'We just have to tolerate the old man a little longer. Tina will inherit something, and Lawrence can start his business.'" Wade looked miserable. "I shouldn't have listened, but you did nothing wrong." My voice sounded distant. "They seemed like they were counting on you not being around much longer. It was gross." I put a hand on his shoulder. "Thank you. Are you okay?" "Better than okay. You just gave me exactly what I needed." I walked home, mind racing. In my office, I logged into our database. Holmes Transport Solutions uses comprehensive employee management. Every hire, every review, everything documented. I pulled up Harold Brennan's file. Hired August 2013. 12 years. Started as logistics coordinator. Promoted to operations manager in 2017. Performance reviews. Solid. But there were notes. 3 formal complaints in 2 years. I open them. March 2024. Harold Brennan speaks condescendingly to warehouse staff. Creates hostile environment. September 2024. Shows favoritism to certain employees while being overly critical of others. January 2025. Made inappropriate comments about an employee's appearance. HR had addressed each with verbal warnings. Harold apologized. Issues marked, resolved. I moved to Sheila's file. Hired September 2013. Senior accountant. Impeccable work record. But in supervisor notes, excellent accounting knowledge but occasionally displays elitist attitudes toward support staff. Nothing actionable, but a pattern, a personality. I searched Lawrence on LinkedIn. His profile appeared. Previous job, financial analyst at Meridian Investments. Left July 2025. I knew Tom Patterson, their CFO. I texted him. Hey Tom, know anything about Lawrence Brennan? Worked for you until recently. His response came fast. Larry? Yeah. Decent analyst, but attitude problems. Clashed with management, asked him to resign. Why? Engaged to my daughter. Long pause. Good luck with that. I set the phone down. Lawrence, unemployed, in debt, living with parents. Harold and Sheila, comfortable but not wealthy, dependent on salaries. All three convinced I was poverty-stricken. And Tina, caught in the middle. Trusting, blind. I pulled up a blank document and started typing. Names, dates, financial details. Everything I'd need to prove to Tina who Lawrence was. Everything I'd need to show the Brennans the cost of their arrogance. Outside, the sun climbed higher. I smiled. Let them think I'm weak. Let them think I'm finished. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Sunday morning came with August humidity that made Indianapolis feel like breathing through a wet towel. I'd barely slept 3 hours. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Lawrence's voice. Old failure. I pulled on running shoes and headed out just after 6. The streets were empty. My route took me past familiar landmarks, but my mind was elsewhere. It was cataloging, remembering, piecing together a puzzle I'd been too trusting to see. 6 weeks back, that first dinner with Lawrence, I'd made meatloaf and mashed potatoes. He'd moved his fork around the plate like he was afraid of contamination. Still in this house? He'd gestured at the walls. Must be tough with upkeep. Property taxes keep climbing. You're probably stretched thin. I'd smiled. It's home. But at your age, you should think about downsizing. Those senior communities are nice now. Organized activities, maintenance included. He'd leaned forward. Financial planning is what I do. Or did. That last part I'd missed then. The bitterness in did. The past tense. I turned down Meridian Street, picking up my pace. Another memory surfaced. 3 weeks ago. Harold and Sheila's barbecue. Their house screamed upper middle management without reaching executive. Harold had handed me a beer. Lawrence is going places. MBA from Butler. He's a catch. Good-looking, educated, ambitious. Between you and me, he has options. He could go for women with real prospects. Real prospects? Career women. Family money. Tina's sweet, but she's a teacher. Not exactly big bucks. So you should be grateful. I'd nodded, smiled. The beer had tasted like ash. Later, Sheila cornered me. Lawrence is used to quality restaurants, nice wine, travel. I worry Tina might not be ready, and if there's not much financial support from your end, it puts pressure on a marriage. I'll make sure Tina's taken care of. Within your means. Her smile could cut glass. More pieces. 2 weeks ago, family picnic at Eagle Creek Park. Sheila had shuddered at the picnic tables. Somewhere more maintained? Lawrence had spent the afternoon on his phone. When I'd suggested a walk, he'd looked disgusted. I'm not the outdoor type. These shoes cost $400. $400 on shoes while living rent-free with his parents. I slowed as I approached Bella Vista. The restaurant looked different in daylight. Smaller. Exactly what I'd wanted. That's when I saw Wade. He was outside the service entrance, smoking. When he saw me, guilt mixed with relief crossed his face. Mr. Holmes. He dropped the cigarette. Hey, I wanted to say something last night. I'm really sorry. I stopped. Sorry for what? The party was nice, but some of your guests... He glanced at the empty street. Your daughter's fiancé? And his parents? They were rude. I heard things. My pulse quickened. What things? Around 8, they were in the alcove. I was bringing bread to table 6. Lawrence was showing his parents pictures on his phone. Houses. Really expensive ones. He said, "Soon all this will be mine." The street tilted. "Go on." His mother laughed. She said, "Just tolerate the old man a bit longer. Tina will inherit something, and Lawrence can start his business." His father mentioned your savings for a down payment. Wade looked miserable. "They were talking about you like you were already gone." "Thank you for telling me." My voice was controlled, distant. "Are you okay?" "Better than okay. You just saved my daughter's life." I walked home slowly, letting Wade's words settle into certainty. Lawrence wasn't marrying Tina. He was investing in an inheritance, a bet on my death. Inside, I went straight to my office. Didn't change from running clothes. Just sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The Holmes Transport Solutions employee database loaded. I typed Brennan into the search field. 2 results appeared. Harold Brennan, Operations Manager, Indianapolis Terminal. Hired August 2013. Salary, $95,000. 12 years. Sheila Brennan, Senior Accountant, Corporate Finance. Hired September 2013. Salary, $82,000. 12 years. I sat back and started laughing. Not a happy sound. The laugh of a man who's just realized he's been playing chess, while everyone else thought they were playing checkers. They worked for me. Harold and Sheila Brennan had worked for me for 12 years, and they didn't know it. I scrolled through Harold's file. Performance reviews, generally strong, but complaints existed. March 2024, condescending tone with warehouse workers. September 2024, favoritism. January 2025, inappropriate comments. 3 strikes. Not enough to fire him, but enough to document a pattern. Sheila's file was cleaner, but told its story. Her supervisor noted elitist attitudes toward support staff. Difficulty collaborating. I pulled up Lawrence on LinkedIn. Most recent position, financial analyst at Meridian Investments. July 2024 to July 2025. 1 year. Red flag. I texted Tom Patterson, Meridian's CFO. "Tom, know anything about Lawrence Brennan?" Fast response. "Larry? Decent with numbers, terrible with people. Asked him to resign after he called a senior partner's analysis pedestrian in a client meeting. Why? He's engaged to my daughter." "My condolences." I stared at the screen. The picture was complete. Lawrence, unemployed, in debt, living with parents. Harold and Sheila, dependent on salaries. All 3 counting on me to die soon so they could cash in. And Tina caught in the middle. I opened a new document and started typing. Names, dates, quotes, Wade's testimony, financial records, employment histories, building the case methodically. Outside, the sun climbed higher. Brutally hot day coming. Perfect weather for what I had in mind. Monday morning. Back in my office before dawn. Coffee going cold. Surrounded by printouts. I'd been at it for 3 hours, assembling everything on the Brennan family. The more I dug, the worse it got. Lawrence's LinkedIn showed 5 jobs in 8 years, each lasting 12 to 18 months. The pattern screamed instability. His social media painted ambition, wine tastings, weekend trips to Chicago. All surface, no substance. His Facebook from June. Excited for the next chapter. Big plans ahead. 3 weeks before proposing to Tina. I pulled his credit report, called in favors. $18,000 in credit card debt. BMW loan, $48,000 remaining. Student loans, $62,000. Total debt, $128,000. Current income, 0. Living with parents, rent-free. His big plans weren't about love. They were about financial survival. Harold's file revealed more complaints. Anonymous survey. Operations manager creates culture of fear. Can't speak up without retaliation. HR had flagged it but taken no action. Not enough to terminate, but enough to establish a pattern. Sheila had been passed over for promotion twice. Her reviews. Excellent technical skills, needs improvement in collaborative leadership. Translation. Brilliant with spreadsheets, toxic with people. Nobody wanted to work with her. They were competent employees. Showed up, did their jobs. But they weren't executives. They weren't wealthy. They were middle management in a company they didn't know I owned. 12 years. 12 years at Holmes Transport Solutions. Never wondering who really ran the company. never questioning why the owner's name was on the building, but his face wasn't in the lobby. I'd structured it deliberately. Layers of management, professional executives handling operations. My involvement quiet, strategic, behind the scenes. I signed the contracts that mattered, approved the budgets, made the decisions, anonymous by design, invisible by choice, and now that anonymity had become a weapon. I built the evidence file for Tina. Screenshots, employment history, credit report, Wade's testimony, security footage. By Tuesday morning, I had 40 pages proving Lawrence was a broke opportunist, marrying my daughter for an imagined inheritance. But I wasn't ready to show Tina yet. I needed them to confirm everything in person, to show their true colors so clearly that even love couldn't blind her. I called her Tuesday afternoon. "Sweetheart, want to do family dinner Sunday?" "That's sweet. Let me check with Lawrence. Invite his parents too. I'd like to know them better." Pause. "Really? You sure? Families should spend time together." She agreed, happy. She thought I was accepting Lawrence, embracing the future she imagined. Sunday arrived hot and clear. I set the table with everyday dishes, white ceramic with tiny chips from 3 decades of use. Cooked fried chicken, mashed potatoes, green salad, paper napkins, tap water, made everything humble while still generous. The stage was set. They arrived at 1. Sheila wore an expensive navy dress, Harold, golf clothes, Lawrence, designer jeans and polo with a logo I didn't recognize. Tina bounced in, kissed my cheek. "Dad's a great cook," Sheila surveyed the table. "How charming. Home cooking. So authentic." "Francis does this himself?" Harold's tone suggested I'd admitted to hunting pigeons for meat. "Can't afford delivery every night," I said with a smile. We sat. I served. They picked at the food like it was contaminated. "Very traditional," Sheila said, cutting chicken into pieces she didn't eat. Harold pushed potatoes around. "These old places, always something breaking. Foundation, plumbing, electrical." "I manage," I said, "for now. But at your age, these become burdens." Lawrence leaned back in my chair, the chair I'd bought 30 years ago when Tina was born. "Tina and I are thinking Carmel or Fisher's. Good schools, modern amenities, smart home technology." "Sounds nice. Fresh start, you know?" He smiled at Tina. "No offense, babe, but we need something that reflects where we're going. Forward thinking." Tina laughed uncomfortably. "Dad's house is lovely." "It's got character," Sheila said. Polite way of saying it needs significant work. I ate slowly, watched them perform, said nothing, let them hang themselves with their own words, more subtle insults disguised as concern, more assumptions about my financial struggles. They were so confident they didn't even try to hide it anymore. After dinner, I walked them out. Tina hugged me. Harold shook my hand with mechanical courtesy. Sheila thanked me with empty words. They headed to their car. Lawrence lingered on the porch, turned back. "Francis, can I be real?" "Please. Tina deserves better than this." He gestured at my house, my life, everything I'd built. "I want to give her the life she deserves. The life she hasn't had. I hope you understand. No hard feelings." I looked at him. Really looked. Saw the entitlement. The certainty that he was doing me a favor by marrying my daughter. The absolute conviction that I was a failure who should be grateful for his charity. "I understand more than you think, Lawrence." He smiled, satisfied, nodded, walked away thinking he'd won. I stood on my porch and watched them drive off. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. Beautiful evening, perfect temperature for what was coming. Inside, I cleaned up methodically, threw away paper napkins, put leftovers in containers, washed dishes by hand, taking my time, thinking through every step of what came next. Then I went to my office and pulled up the documentation I'd prepared. Tomorrow, I'd show Tina the truth. After that, I'd show the Brennans exactly who they'd been insulting for months. The game was about to change, and they had no idea they were already losing. Wednesday morning, I made the call. "Tina, sweetheart, how about Sunday dinner at my place? Been too long since we had family time." "Really?" Her voice brightened. "That's so sweet, Dad. Let me ask Lawrence. Bring his parents, too. I'd like to get to know them better." There was a pause. "You sure? You really want to?" "Absolutely. They're going to be family. Might as well start acting like it." She was thrilled. Relieved, even. She thought I was accepting Lawrence, giving my blessing, making peace with the inevitable. I spent the next few days preparing. Not the food. That was easy. I was preparing myself. For what I needed to see. What I needed Tina to see, though she wouldn't understand why until later. Sunday arrived with that heavy August heat that makes you sweat just standing still. I set the dining room table with my everyday dishes. White ceramic, chipped at the edges from decades of use. Pulled out the paper napkins I buy in bulk from the discount store. Filled a pitcher with tap water and ice. In the kitchen, I fried chicken the way my mother taught me. Made mashed potatoes from scratch, butter and milk, nothing fancy. Tossed a simple garden salad. The house smelled like Sunday dinner, like home. They arrived at 1 o'clock sharp. I watched from the window as they emerged. Sheila wore a cream-colored dress that probably cost $600. Pearl earrings. Harold had on golf clothes, expensive polo and pressed khakis. Lawrence showed up in designer casual, the kind of outfit that looks simple but costs more than most people's weekly paycheck. Tina bounced out of Lawrence's BMW, sundress and sandals. She hugged me at the door. "Dad, thank you for this." "My pleasure, sweetheart." They filed in. I watched their eyes sweep the living room, the furniture I've had for 30 years, the carpet that needs replacing. Sheila's smile was fixed and tight. "Francis, what a lovely home. So much character." "Been here a long time," I said. "Come on in. Dinner's ready." We sat. I served. The chicken was perfect, golden and crispy. The potatoes were creamy. Everything exactly as it should be. They picked at their plates like I'd served them cafeteria food. "This is very home style," Sheila observed. She cut her chicken into tiny pieces but barely ate any. "Do you cook often?" "Every day. Can't afford to eat out much." Harold smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Must be tough on a fixed income. These old houses, the maintenance alone. Foundation, roof, plumbing. Always something. I get by." "For now," he said. "But at your age, these things add up. Have you thought about downsizing? Maybe one of those active senior communities?" Tina looked uncomfortable. "Dad loves this house." "Of course," Sheila said smoothly. "It's sentimental. But sentiment doesn't fix a leaking roof or pay the heating bill." Lawrence leaned back in his chair. My chair. The one I bought when Tina was born. "Speaking of houses, Tina and I have been looking at places in Carmel. 3 bedrooms, modern kitchen, smart home features. Really nice neighborhood." "Sounds expensive," I said. "It is. But we're thinking long term. Good schools, property values, investment in our future." He smiled at Tina. "Your daughter deserves the best." "She does," I agreed. "We're hoping to close before the wedding," Harold added, "though the down payment is substantial. Young couples these days need help. We're contributing what we can, but—" He let it hang there, the implication clear. They expected me to contribute, to fund their life together. I ate my chicken slowly, watched them, said nothing. The meal continued like that. Subtle digs disguised as concern, comments about my situation, suggestions about how Tina could do better, all delivered with smiles and sympathetic voices. Tina tried to redirect, to lighten the mood, but she didn't defend me. Not once. She just laughed awkwardly and tried to change the subject. I kept quiet. Let them perform. Let them show me exactly who they were. After dinner, Harold examined my living room bookshelf. "You know, Francis, I could help you with estate planning, making sure Tina's taken care of. It's never too early to think about these things." "That's kind of you." "Just practical. At your age, you want to make sure everything's in order, for Tina's sake." Sheila was in the kitchen, looking at my appliances with barely concealed disgust. "These must be original to the house. Such nostalgia." I walked them to the door. Tina hugged me. "Thanks, Dad. That was nice." Harold shook my hand with mechanical courtesy. Sheila air-kissed near my cheek. They headed to their cars. Lawrence lingered, turned back on the porch. "Francis, can I be honest with you?" "Please." "Tina deserves more than this." He gestured vaguely at my house, my life. "She's an incredible woman. She deserves someone who can give her a real future, security, opportunities, the kind of life she's never had. The kind of life she's never had." I looked at him, really looked, saw the absolute certainty in his eyes that he was doing me a favor, that I should be grateful he was willing to marry my daughter despite her obvious lack of prospects. "Lawrence," I said quietly, I understand more than you think. He smiled, nodded, walked away satisfied that he'd made his point. I stood on my porch and watched them drive off. 3 cars, Harold's Lexus, Sheila's Acura, Lawrence's leased BMW, all nicer than my old Civic in the driveway. Inside, I cleaned up the dishes, threw away the paper napkins, put the leftovers in containers, moved slowly, methodically, thinking about every word they'd said, every look, every implication. Tomorrow, I'd show Tina the truth, not my truth, the documented, irrefutable truth about the man she thought she loved. And after that, the Brennans would learn exactly who they'd been insulting all these months. I smiled as I dried the last dish. The game was almost over. They just didn't know it yet. Monday morning, 6 o'clock. I texted Tina. Coffee, my treat. Need to talk. She responded immediately. Everything okay? Better if we talk in person. Rosie's calf? 8? I'll be there. I arrived early with a manila folder. 43 pages, everything I'd compiled. I ordered coffee and waited. Tina came in at 8 sharp, worry on her face. Dad, what's wrong? Sit down, sweetheart. She sat. I slid the folder across. What's this? The truth about Lawrence. Look with an open mind. Her expression shifted, defensive. Dad, please just look. She opened it. First page, Lawrence's credit report. I watched her eyes scan the numbers. $18,000 in credit card debt, I said quietly. $48,000 on his car. $62,000 in student loans. Total, $128,000. Lots of people have debt. Turn the page. His employment history. 5 jobs in 8 years. He's between opportunities, Tina said, voice uncertain. He was fired from Meridian in July, called a senior partner's analysis pedestrian in front of a client. How do you... Keep reading. Screenshots of his social media, expensive restaurants, weekend trips, wine tastings, all from the past 6 months, while unemployed. Then the surveillance footage. I'd paid Angelo $200 for the security files from the engagement party. The stills showed Lawrence and his parents in that alcove, photos of houses on his phone, their smirking faces, the body language of mockery. I had Wade write down what he heard, page 12. Tina read it, Wade's statement, signed and dated. Lawrence saying, soon all this will be mine. Sheila talking about tolerating the old man until I died. Her hands shook. This can't be right. Page 15, his Instagram, look at the dates. June 14th, big plans ahead, photos of engagement rings. June 28th, sometimes you have to invest in your future. Photos of luxury houses. July 3rd, he proposed. He was planning this, I said, before he even proposed. Tears fell. Why didn't you tell me before? You wouldn't have believed me. You were in love. You needed proof. She flipped through more pages. His dating profile from May, still active. Messages to other women after he proposed. Financial projections about inheritance timelines. I'm so stupid, she whispered. You're not stupid. You're trusting. What do I do? I took her hand. That's your decision. But I need to tell you something else. She looked up, tears streaming. Lawrence's parents work for me, Harold and Sheila Brennan, at Holmes Transport Solutions. 12 years. They don't know I own it. Her eyes went wide. What? I built that company from nothing. 412 employees. 3 states. $47 million in revenue last year. But I keep a low profile. Most employees have never met me. Dad, I don't understand. Lawrence thinks he's marrying you for an inheritance that barely exists. He thinks you'll get my house and some savings bonds. He has no idea what I actually have. I paused, and his parents spent yesterday insulting the man who signs their paychecks. Tina stared, processing. What are you going to do? What would you like me to do? I don't know. I'm so angry. At him, at them, at myself. You're not responsible for their choices. But whatever happens next, I'm going to show them exactly who they've been disrespecting. Not because I need to prove anything, but because they need to learn that character isn't measured by houses or cars. She wiped her eyes. What happens now? Now you decide. Break the engagement or don't. But if you break it, do it because you want to. She looked at the folder again, at all the evidence of Lawrence's calculated betrayal. I need to call him, she said. Use my phone if you want. No. She pulled out her own phone, dialed, put it on speaker. Lawrence answered on the second ring. Hey, babe, what's up? We need to talk. Sure, what about? Us, the engagement. I'm calling it off. Silence. Then, what? Why? Because you're not who I thought you were. Tina, come on. Is this about yesterday? Look, I'm sorry if we came on too strong. It's about everything, Lawrence. Your debt, your lies, the fact that you planned this from the start. What are you talking about? Who's feeding you this? Nobody's feeding me anything. I have documentation. Your father, Lawrence spat. That old fool poisoned you against me. Tina's jaw set. Don't call my father a fool. Why not? That's what he is. Living in that dump. He's a failure, Tina, and he can't stand that I'm going to give you a better life. We're done, Lawrence. You're making a mistake. She hung up, sat there shaking. I squeezed her hand. I'm proud of you. What happens now? I smiled. Now I show the Brennans exactly who they've been disrespecting. Everything I'm going to do is legal, but they're going to learn a very expensive lesson. Tina looked at me, really looked, seeing me differently now, not as her struggling father, but as the man who'd built something from nothing. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. As we left, my phone buzzed. Lawrence, I answered. Hello? You poisoned her against me. You brainwashed her. Lawrence, Tina made her own decision based on facts, but I have a gift for you and your family. You'll understand soon. I hung up before he could respond. Tomorrow the Brennans would walk into work as usual, and then their world would start to crumble. Justice was patient, justice was thorough, and justice was coming. Monday evening, my phone rang. Lawrence, I let it ring 3 times before answering. You poisoned her against me. His voice was raw, furious. You brainwashed her. I walked to my study, closed the door, sat in my chair with deliberate calm. Lawrence, Tina made her own decision based on facts. Facts? You mean your lies? Your manipulation? I showed her documentation. Credit reports, employment records, witness statements, social media screenshots, security footage, all verifiable, all true. You had no right. I had every right. She's my daughter. She was going to be my wife. Was, past tense. Interesting choice of words. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop. But I want you to know something, Lawrence. I have a gift for you and your family. Silence. Then cautiously, what are you talking about? You'll find out soon enough. I hung up before he could respond. Set the phone face down on my desk. Let him wonder. Let him worry. Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock, I called Angela Price, my HR director. She'd worked for me for 8 years. Sharp, thorough, absolutely professional. Angela, I need you to initiate a cultural compliance review. Harold and Sheila Brennan. Full assessment. May I ask the reason? We've had concerning patterns emerge. Anonymous complaints about workplace behavior that deserve proper investigation. I want a thorough evaluation before making any decisions. Understood. How comprehensive? Complete review. Interview their colleagues, subordinates, anyone who's worked with them directly. Pull all performance records, complaint files, peer feedback. Document everything. This will take several days. Take the time you need. Just make it thorough and legally sound. She paused. Francis, is this connected to your daughter's situation? Everything I'm asking you to do is legally justified and professionally appropriate. Can you handle it? Of course. I'll start today. Tuesday afternoon, Angela called Harold and Sheila into separate meetings. She told each of them the same thing. The company is conducting routine compliance reviews across all departments. You've been selected for assessment this quarter. Standard procedure. Routine. Random. Nothing to worry about, except it wasn't routine. And it wasn't random. I watched through our internal monitoring system. Not their actual conversations, that would be illegal. But I could see the meeting schedules, read Angela's reports as she filed them throughout the week. Harold's first interview lasted 90 minutes. Angela questioned him about management style, conflict resolution, team dynamics. She asked about specific incidents from his complaint file dating back 3 years. His responses were defensive, evasive. He tried to explain away the complaints about his condescending tone as misunderstandings. Said the reports of intimidation were from oversensitive employees who couldn't handle direct feedback. Angela documented everything in her neutral, clinical way. Wednesday, she interviewed 5 of Harold's direct reports, separately, confidentially, assured them their feedback would be anonymous. The reports came back consistent. Harold was technically competent, but personally difficult. He played favorites. He held grudges. He made people feel small. One warehouse supervisor, a man named Marcus who'd worked there 11 years, said something that Angela highlighted in her summary. Harold treats people differently based on how he perceives their status. If he thinks you're important, he's all smiles and cooperation. If he thinks you're beneath him, you're invisible. He's got 2 completely different personalities. Thursday, Sheila's assessment. Her technical work was flawless. Her spreadsheets were perfect. Her reports were immaculate. Her numbers never had errors. But Angela interviewed the support staff, the administrative assistants, the junior accountants who worked under Sheila's supervision. "She's cold," one young accountant said. "Not mean exactly, just dismissive, like we're furniture. Necessary, but unworthy of notice." Another. "She never learns our names. I've worked on her team for 2 years. She still calls me the girl from processing. My name is Jennifer." A third. "She's perfectly professional. But there's this wall, this sense that she's above us, better than us. It's in every interaction." Angela documented it all, every quote, every observation, every pattern. Friday afternoon, she compiled her findings. 37 pages. Executive summary, detailed observations, supporting evidence, professional recommendations. She sent it to me encrypted. I read it in my study that evening. Every word, every footnote. Harold Brennan. Demonstrates technical competence but persistent interpersonal issues. Multiple documented complaints regarding treatment of subordinates spanning 3 years. Pattern suggests attitude-based rather than skills-based deficiencies. Recommend formal intervention and continued monitoring. Sheila Brennan. Excellent technical performance, but significant concerns regarding workplace culture contributions. Demonstrates elitist attitudes that undermine team cohesion and morale. Recommend coaching on inclusive leadership practices. Both of them. Documented, official, legal, irrefutable. I closed the laptop and looked out my window. The sun was setting over Indianapolis. Golden light on the old trees in my backyard. The same trees I'd planted 25 years ago when Tina was 4. Monday morning, I would walk into my own company's headquarters for the first time in 6 months. I would sit in the CEO's office, and I would have a conversation with Harold and Sheila Brennan that would change their lives forever. But first, I needed them to sweat a little longer, to wonder, to worry. Justice requires patience. And I'd been patient for a very long time. Tuesday morning, August 27th, I dressed in my best suit, navy blue, tailored Italian fabric, silk tie, leather shoes from London. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw the man I'd been hiding, the CEO of Holmes Transport Solutions. I drove to the office in my Mercedes, the one I keep garaged and rarely drive. I arrived at 7:30. Angela met me in the lobby. "They're scheduled for 9, she said. "My office." She raised an eyebrow. "You want them to see?" "I want them to understand." She nodded. "I'll bring them up." I took the elevator to the top floor. My office occupied the corner, windows overlooking the city. Mahogany desk, leather chairs, walls lined with awards. One wall dedicated to company history, including a portrait from the founding in 1995. Francis Holmes, founder and CEO, Holmes Transport Solutions. The same face they'd been insulting for months. I sat behind my desk and waited. At 9 exactly, Angela knocked. "Mr. Holmes, Harold and Sheila Brennan are here." "Send them in." The door opened. They walked in talking to each other, not paying attention. They stopped when they saw me. Sheila went pale. Actually pale, the color draining from her face like someone had pulled a plug. Harold's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. I gestured to the chairs across from my desk. "Please, sit." They sat mechanically, staring. Harold kept looking at the portrait on the wall, then back at me, trying to reconcile the images. "I imagine you're confused," I said calmly. "Let me clarify. I'm Francis Holmes. I founded this company 30 years ago. I've been CEO the entire time. You've both worked for me for 12 years. Sheila found her voice first. You're, yes, the old failure your son mentioned at the engagement party. The struggling retiree you pitied at Sunday dinner. The man whose house needs work. Harold's face had gone from pale to red. Mr. Holmes, we had no idea. That's the problem, Harold. You had no idea. And you didn't care to find out. I opened a folder on my desk. Angela's report. You've been here 12 years. Did you ever once wonder who really ran this company? We thought the CEO was anonymous? Yes, by design. I prefer to stay out of the spotlight. It lets me see how people really are when they think no one important is watching. Sheila's hands were shaking. The review, the interviews, that was a thorough, legal, professionally conducted assessment of your workplace behavior. Everything Angela found is documented and verifiable. I slid the report across the desk. They didn't touch it. I heard what Lawrence said at the engagement party, I continued. Every word. I heard you, Sheila, talking about tolerating the old man. I know about the plans, the house hunting, the calculations about my supposed savings. Mr. Holmes, please. Harold leaned forward. We made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But Lawrence and Tina. There is no Lawrence and Tina. She ended the engagement yesterday, after I showed her documentation of your son's debts, his employment history, and his stated intention to marry her for money he imagined I had. Sheila made a choking sound. You destroyed their relationship. I showed her the truth. She made her own choice. I looked at them both. Just as I'm about to give you a choice. They waited. You can resign. Effective immediately. I'll provide letters of recommendation based solely on your technical skills. You'll each receive $40,000 in severance. Your benefits continue for 6 months. Or, I let it hang. Or, Harold's voice was barely a whisper, or I terminate you for cause. Cultural misalignment. No severance. No recommendations. And a permanent note in your file that will follow you to every future employer. Sheila's eyes were wet. That's not fair. Fair? I leaned forward. You spent months judging me, mocking my house, my car, my lifestyle. You taught your son that success is measured by appearances and that people without obvious wealth are worth less. You planned to exploit my daughter for an inheritance that existed only in your imagination. I paused. And now you're concerned about fairness? Harold's shoulders slumped. What do you want us to do? I want you to understand something. You never saw me. You saw a costume. An old man in a modest house. And you assumed that's all I was. You never looked deeper. Never wondered. Never considered that maybe, just maybe, character and worth aren't displayed on the outside. I stood. They stood automatically. You have until Friday to decide. Resignation letters on Angela's desk or termination papers on Monday. Your choice. They walked to the door like condemned prisoners. At the threshold, Sheila turned back. Why did you hire us? If you knew what we were like? I didn't know. 12 years ago, you were different people. Or maybe you were always this way, and I was too busy building a company to notice. I sat back down. But I know now, and that's what matters. They left. I sat alone in my office, looking out at the city. Indianapolis in late August. Hot, humid, beautiful. Somewhere out there, Lawrence was probably getting a phone call from his parents, learning that their careers were over, that the man they'd insulted owned their livelihoods. I didn't smile. This wasn't pleasure. This was necessity. Justice isn't always satisfying, but it's always necessary. My phone buzzed. Text from Tina. Are you okay? I replied. Better than okay. Coming home soon. Want to cook dinner together. Always. I closed my laptop, straightened my tie, and walked out of my office. The game wasn't over yet, but the Brennans were finally starting to understand the rules. Wednesday morning, August 28th, Harold and Sheila sat across from me in my office. They'd had the night to process everything. Now they needed to make a choice. You have 2 options, I said calmly. Option 1, you resign voluntarily, effective immediately. I'll provide letters of recommendation based solely on your technical skills. You'll each receive $40,000 in severance. Your benefits continue for 6 months. Harold's hands were shaking. And option 2, I terminate you for cause. Cultural misalignment with company values. No severance. no recommendations, and a permanent record that will appear in every background check for the rest of your careers. Sheila's voice was hoarse. That's not fair. Fair? I leaned back. You spent months planning to exploit my daughter for money you imagined I had. You mocked me, judged me, dismissed me. And now you want to talk about fair? We'll resign, Harold said quickly. We'll take option 1. Smart choice. Angela will have the paperwork ready by noon. You'll clean out your desks today. Today? Sheila looked panicked. Today. And there's one more thing you should know. Your mortgage was partially financed through our Employee Housing Assistance Program. That benefit ends with your employment. You have 7 days to find alternative financing or make other arrangements. Harold's face went white. But we can't. We need more time. 7 days. That's generous. I stood. The paperwork will be on Angela's desk at noon. I expect it signed by 2. They left my office like prisoners leaving the warden's chamber. Thursday afternoon, I got a call from my home security system. Motion detected at the front door. I pulled up the camera feed on my phone. Lawrence, pounding on my door, shouting something I couldn't make out through the video. I called 911. There's someone at my property making threats. I need police assistance. Then I called my corporate attorney, Stuart Miller. Stuart, I need you to file for a protective order. Lawrence Brennan, harassment and threats. I'll have it ready in an hour. By the time the police arrived, Lawrence was sitting on my porch steps, head in his hands. The officers spoke with him, then with me. I showed them the security footage. Lawrence yelling, kicking my door, making threatening gestures. We're going to take him down to the station, one officer said. You can file charges if you want. I have an attorney preparing a protective order. I just want him to stay away from my property and my daughter. They took Lawrence away in the back of their cruiser. He didn't look at me as they drove off. Friday, the protective order was granted. Lawrence couldn't come within 500 feet of me, Tina, or my property. Saturday, Harold called. Mr. Holmes, please. We can't find financing. The banks won't approve us without employment verification. We need more time. Harold, you had 12 years to save money, to plan for contingencies. You chose to spend it on designer clothes and maintaining appearances. That's not my problem. But where will we go? There are apartments all over Indianapolis. I'm sure you'll find something within your new budget. He hung up without another word. Sunday evening, Tina and I had dinner at my house. She'd been staying with me since the breakup. How are you holding up? I asked. Better. Angry mostly, at myself for not seeing it, at him for lying. For being exactly who they are? Yeah. She pushed pasta around her plate. Dad, did you know about Harold and Sheila working for you? Not until after the engagement party. Wade told me what he'd overheard. That's when I checked the database. And you just decided to destroy them? I set down my fork. I decided to protect you, and to make sure they understood that character isn't measured by houses or cars or job titles. They spent months judging me for having an old home and a modest lifestyle. They never once considered that maybe I chose to live this way. She was quiet for a moment. What happened to them? They resigned. They're moving to a smaller apartment. Their son has a restraining order. Their careers are over. Do you feel guilty? No. Do you think I should? I don't know. I keep thinking about Lawrence's face when I broke up with him. He looked so shocked. That's because he never saw you as a person. He saw you as an investment, a way to get money he thought I had. I reached across the table and took her hand. You deserve someone who loves you for who you are, not what they think you can give them. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I know. It just hurts. It's supposed to hurt. That means you're human, that you have a heart. Don't lose that, sweetheart. Just be smarter about who you give it to. She squeezed my hand. Thank you for protecting me. Always. Monday, September 1st. I was at the office when Angela knocked on my door. The Brennans are gone, she said. Desks cleared. Keys returned. Exit interviews completed. How did they seem? Broken. Sheila cried through the entire interview. Harold just stared at the wall. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost? She smiled slightly. Almost. But then I remembered what they said about you, how they treated you, and I stopped feeling sorry. Good. Send their severance checks to their new address. Will do. Francis, she paused, I've worked for you 8 years. I never knew you tested people like that. I don't test people. I just observe. And sometimes people reveal themselves without any help from me. She nodded and left. I turned to my window, looking out at Indianapolis. September afternoon. The leaves were starting to turn. Fall coming early this year. Somewhere in the city, Harold and Sheila were unpacking boxes in an apartment half the size of their old house. Lawrence was probably on his parents' couch, unemployed and radioactive to anyone who knew what happened. And Tina was safe. That's all that mattered. Justice isn't always satisfying, but it's always necessary. Wednesday, September 10th. 2 weeks since the Brennan's world collapsed. I was leaving Rosie's cafe after my morning coffee when I saw him. Lawrence, standing on the sidewalk across the street. He looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. He saw me, started to cross the street. I held up my hand. Stop, you have a restraining order. He stopped at the curb. I just want to talk. We have nothing to discuss. Please, 5 minutes. People were staring. I walked toward him, stopping exactly where the property line met the sidewalk. 501 feet, if he was smart. 3 minutes, I said. My parents hate me. They blame me for everything. For pushing Tina. For the engagement party. For losing their jobs. Are they wrong? His jaw clenched. You destroyed our lives. No. I revealed who you really were. There's a difference. We didn't know who you were. If you'd known I owned the company, you would have treated me with respect. But because you thought I was poor, you treated me like trash. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. He looked away. What do you want from me? Nothing. I don't think about you at all anymore. I checked my watch. 2 minutes left. Tina won't answer my calls. Smart woman. I loved her. No. You loved what you thought she represented. Access to money. A comfortable life. Security. I looked at him directly. You never asked about her students. Her favorite books. What made her laugh? You loved the idea of her, not the reality. That's not true. Then tell me, what's her favorite color? He opened his mouth, closed it, couldn't answer. That's what I thought. Time's up, Lawrence. I turned to walk away. Wait, he called. What happens now? I looked back. Now you learn something your parents never taught you. What? I met his eyes, held his gaze, let him see exactly how little he meant to me. Never judge people by appearances. He stood there, frozen, no response, nothing to say. I walked away without looking back. When I got home, Tina's car was in the driveway. I found her in the kitchen, flour on her hands, a pie cooling on the counter. Apple pie, she said. Your favorite. What's the occasion? No occasion, just wanted to do something nice for you. I hugged her. She hugged me back, tight. I saw Lawrence today, I said. She pulled back. Where? Outside Rosie's. He wanted to talk. What did he say? That his parents blame him. That he loved you. That I destroyed their lives. What did you tell him? I smiled. I asked him your favorite color. He couldn't answer. She laughed. It was good to hear her laugh again. It's green. Forest green. I know. We sat at the kitchen table. The house smelled like apples and cinnamon. Late afternoon sun streamed through the windows. Dad? Tina said. I never asked. How big is your company? Really? 412 employees. Facilities in Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. About 50 million in annual revenue. Her eyes widened. 50 million? Give or take. And you live in this house. Drive that old Civic. Wear clothes from 10 years ago. Money doesn't change who I am. It just gives me options. But the core of who you are? That doesn't come from a bank account. She looked around the kitchen. So all this time, when Lawrence and his parents were talking about you being poor, I was letting them show me exactly who they were. That must have been hard, listening to them insult you. Not really. Their opinions never mattered to me. Only yours did. I reached across the table and took her hand, and you never judged me for any of it. Not the house, not the car, none of it. That's how I knew you were different from them. I just thought you were being practical. I was. But I was also testing. Not you. You passed that test the day you were born. I was testing everyone around us, seeing who treated me with respect when they thought I had nothing. Those are the people worth knowing. She was quiet for a moment. What happened to the Brennans? Really? They're renting a 2-bedroom apartment in Fountain Square. Harold's applying for jobs. Sheila's substitute teaching. Lawrence is on his parents' couch, unemployed. Their old friends won't return their calls. Do you ever feel bad about it? No. Should I? I don't know. Part of me thinks they got what they deserved. Part of me thinks it was harsh. They spent months planning to exploit you, to use you as a meal ticket. They insulted me to my face, mocked my home, dismissed my worth as a human being, all because they thought I was beneath them. I squeezed her hand. I gave them a choice. They could have treated people with respect, regardless of perceived status. They chose not to. That's on them. She nodded slowly. You're right. I don't like seeing people suffer. That's because you're a good person. Don't lose that. But don't confuse kindness with weakness. You can be compassionate and still protect yourself. Is that what you did? Protected yourself? No, I protected you. Everything else was just showing them the consequences of their choices. She smiled. Cut 2 slices of pie. We ate in comfortable silence. Dad? Yeah? Thank you. For everything. Always, sweetheart. Always. I looked out the window at the backyard. September in Indianapolis. The leaves turning gold and red. Cool air coming in through the screen door. The smell of apple pie filling the house. Justice had been served. The Brennans understood now, and Tina was safe. That's all I ever wanted. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people face the natural consequences of their actions. No dramatic confrontations, no elaborate schemes. Just truth, revealed at the right moment, and watching as they realize they destroyed themselves. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.